Hello there. It's Most Things Kenobi. This is the podcast you're looking for.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Most Things Kenobi, a podcast about Obi-Wan Kenobi and all things Star Wars. I'm your host, Lauren.
And I'm your host, Leanne.
And this week we are discussing the goddess, the queen, Carrie Fisher.
Yes. And how she very, very much changed my life by her Princess Leia character. And she just got her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and I am so pleased. I'm just sad that she's not there to accept it.
I know. I feel like it's long overdue. Honestly.
Way over. She's in way more movies. I'm sorry, but one of my favorite movies of all time that has Carrie Fisher in it is The Burbs. And it's got young 1980s-ish
Yes.
Tom Hanks. Oh my God. It's just, I love that movie, and she's in it.
I know. She's in so many movies. She surprises me. Like, she was in The Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
Which is super random. But my favorite non-Star Wars, and I might even like it better than Star Wars sometimes, is her in When Harry Met Sally.
I know. I know.
God.
I know.
She has some of the funniest lines in that movie she delivers. And they wouldn't be funny except the way she delivers them. It's like, it's all Carrie.
That's the beauty of Carrie Fisher, is that she was so effortlessly, dare I say, effervescent. She just had a zest about her, and I love her, and I just, even in death, she carries on. Oh, see what I did there?
Oh, that's very good.
Oh. But we're honoring her this week because she's been honored on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and now she's there with her space brother
crew
and crew. Han's there, Luke is there, so to speak.
Yeah, I loved seeing Mark at the ceremony. That was really sweet to see him with Billy Lord and how they have this really sweet relationship.
She called him her space uncle.
I
love
so
that
cute.
so much. I love that so much.
Precious.
And she sprinkled glitter on the star, and I thought it was hella appropriate. Carrie was giving it the old, yes, I approve from up above.
Yeah, the old middle finger.
Or the middle finger, yeah. a more loving middle finger, if you will.
Yes. I think I still have that pin you gave me at not Celebration, at Comic-Con with her little middle finger.
What would Carrie say? Or what would Carrie do? And it's literally a middle finger. And I love it. I think everyone knows how much Princess Leia literally changed my life. I wouldn't be sitting on this podcast talking about Star Wars if it wasn't for how she was portrayed, like in my young girl mind, as being like the princess that didn't need rescuing. And it was so refreshing to me. And maybe I didn't know it at the time, that she was a princess that didn't need rescuing, but I knew there was something different about her character that really resonated with me. I mean, I've always been kind of a tomboy, kind of a loner, always happy to go solo, go my own way, and I'm a little bit mouthy. So, Leia/Carrie. So, And shout out to Gary Fisher, Carrie Fisher's dog, with that crazy tongue. We love him too.
Yeah, he's got quite a following on social media.
I don't know why I just thought of him like right now, but
he's so cute that she took him with on like all her interviews, and he'd be like on the couch next to her, just his tongue hanging out.
Well, you saw funny. I think it was on either The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi, like the behind the scenes photos, and how happy did she look with everyone? Everyone loved her on set. Everyone.
Yeah.
And she was with Gary, like his tongue hanging out. I love it so much.
I just love everything about her irreverence. I think Daisy Ridley and her were doing an interview together, and someone asked Daisy, they were like, what advice did Carrie give you when you were getting into Star Wars and Carrie said to not burn through the crew like wildfire. Like, don't just sleep with everybody.
Okay. I mean, it was the 70s. I don't know that it's done a lot now, or maybe it is and it's just done a lot quieter.
I mean, we both read her book,
Yes.
The Princess Diarist. I would love to read her other books too at some point.
That came out, what, like weeks or months before she died?
So close, yeah. It was, and I just looked at, I didn't realize she was only 60 when she died. She was young.
Yeah, her death hit me. I mean, it stopped me in my tracks when I was in a store and it showed up on my phone. Like, I stopped and it was one of those, like, clutch my pearl, have a deep breath.
Yeah.
Like, what did I just read? I was sad for a very long time after she died.
I think it was really surprising. Nobody was really expecting that at all. Her book was such an interesting insight. Like, okay, first of all, I feel like I always knew that she and Harrison Ford had an affair. Like, from being a little kid. So how was this a sudden reveal in, like, 2016 or whatever? I don't know, because...
I don't know.
I feel like I always knew that. That was always public knowledge, I thought. But this book was interesting because it was like her diaries from that time, filming A New Hope in particular.
For sure. Yeah. And a lot of the, I think, underlying insecurities she had, which is amazing because she always seemed to be so secure. And so, I mean, I guess that's part of the job, is you're there to do a job, and any insecurities that, you know, that she looked back on, you know, with her body in Hollywood, which is just, that's a whole other topic. But the fact that she wasn't thin enough for Return of the Jedi to put that bikini on. Like, they made her lose even more weight. She was a small human anyway.
Yeah, she's petite. She's short.
It's just amazing. And you know, that how that affects a human being's brain. You know, I don't want to limit it to just female, because there is just as much male pressure to look a certain way and to be a certain way, especially in Hollywood. And
absolutely,
man, the way she talked about it in The Princess Diarist really resonated with me, and it still does. And it's really humanizing to see your favorite character, your favorite actress, portraying this strong-willed character, and know that somewhere it wasn't all perfect. It wasn't all strength. Every single person, whether they're playing a character or they are the character, they all have these intricacies about them that speak to they're not flawless. They have a weakness and they're dealing with something. And I think that's very human. And everyone needs to acknowledge that.
I think it really contributed to why she was able to portray Leia so... She had that beautiful balance of being really strong, but also showing vulnerability in a way that was extremely believable and normal. You know, like, so many times in movies, there's just extreme representation of you're either a or you're, you know, overly sensitive. This was really refreshing, especially at this time period, because there were... Basically, watch any movie from the 70s and it's gross. It's pretty gross, especially after the Me Too movement. You start to realize how women were just objects in movies. They were, like 100%, basically up. Well, I might even argue to this day.
To this day.
Yeah. So to have Leia, who is extremely objectified, that's not like that wasn't a thing with the character. I mean, she was in a gold bikini, for God's sakes.
And she looked great. I'm going to sit here and be like, she's f***ing hot.
She is. She's sexy. But I think women appreciate her, and actually men do too. I don't want to just say this. Because she's also really f***ing smart.
Yes. And you were going exactly where I was going to go. Because her appreciation value comes at a far deeper level than the hair and those big eyes and that tight body. I'll say it. She
looked great. Yes.
I wish I could look like that right now, but you never catch me in an iron bikini. Let's just throw that out there. Sorry.
But you look that good by starving yourself thin. So,
right.
you know.
But like the fact that she was able to then go on and even joke about it and kind of make light of what is a terrible situation to be put in Hollywood, I think. Like, hey, either you drop this amount of weight, whether it's realistic or not, or you're off the movie.
When they did the same in Force Awakens, she even joked about it and said, they only wanted about 75% of me.
Yes.
She's like, they wanted her to lose weight even for that movie.
Well, she looked beautiful. I'll tell you what, I know we're jumping all over the place, but I have so many thoughts, but I know she died, and I know they did the best they could with The Rise of Skywalker, right? But they did manage to have some beautiful moments between her and Rey, but it could have been so much more. And I don't say this as like Carrie, like could have been so much more. I'm saying like just from the parts that we got that were filmed and put together and editing teams doing editing things, just think of the product that would have happened between her and Rey. I think the relationship between Leia and Rey was really special, and we didn't even get the full 100%, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. They could have been, I mean, she's such a great actress. And I even feel like Harrison Ford is kind of always the same. I love him, but he's kind of always Harrison Ford.
Right.
But I feel like Carrie and Mark in particular, the older they got, the better they are as actors. Like Mark's performance in The Last Jedi was just amazing.
The tenderness between them. And yes, they're brother and sister, they're twins, they've been through this galaxy together, but it's Mark and Carrie. The tenderness of their friendship and their relationship all of those years in that one moment where he says no one's ever really gone. I'm going to get tears. If the Last Jedi brought anything, it was that moment. And we didn't know the gravity of it until she died. And that moment is just, and then they cut, and the part like where they're still crying, even though the cameras are done. That's real between Carrie and Mark, and I love that.
Yeah. Their relationship in particular, I think, is really special because they were kindred spirits, I think, like right from the beginning. They're both super goofy. They both kind of like, because she came from vaudeville, right? Like her mother was Debbie Reynolds and had this personality, and Mark is just goofy that way anyway. So
it's so wild to think that her mother is Debbie Reynolds. Like
I know. Every time I watch Singing in the Rain, I can see Carrie's cute little face in Debbie Reynolds.
It's so wild. Oh God, it's like cinematic history. These people that we're talking about,
I know. But yeah, I just think that them together, I mean, there's all the behind the scenes footage of them, right? Anytime you see them together, they're laughing. He said he would do anything to make her laugh because she was so funny. He felt like he achieved something by making her laugh. And that's why there's that pink bathrobe picture you talked about from Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
Like he just wanted to make her laugh, so he put on her bathrobe.
And isn't there that scene, I fucking love it, where Carrie hands him a beer up in the X-Wing?
Yes.
Like, what is happening? I need to know, like, the entire context of everything in that moment. Because I love that. That could actually happen
classic
in Star Wars. Leia could actually give an alcoholic beverage to Luke and be like, don't forget to come back. Drink responsibly, and then, like, off he flies.
I know. Well, their friendship is really endearing, I think. And maybe more so, I guess, because I guess we don't know behind the scenes, but supposedly they never had a relationship. She even says in her book, there's a part of her diary where she said, maybe I should have had a relationship with Mark because then it would have meant something. Because she felt like Harrison Ford was kind of just using her, and she felt like Mark would have actually cared about her. I just thought that was when I read that in the book, I like closed the book and just sat there for a minute. I was like, think of how history could have been different.
Oh, way different. Way, way different. But I think it's great that it happened with her and Han and not with her and... I'm sorry. I keep calling them by their character names. This is how real it is to me. I'm glad it didn't happen with her and Mark because it's one of those things where better off as friends is better in the long run. And look what happened. Her and Mark stayed, quote unquote, together.
Yeah.
Forever.
Exactly.
There was a level of respect there. Not that Harrison and her didn't have respect, but you know how you kind of dance around all of that hanky-panky when someone's married and all this stuff, and it's all, you know what I mean? And people are just grown folks doing grown folks things on movie sets, whatever, but like, I'm not going to comment on any of it. It is what it is. It happened. She said it, whatever. But I'm glad that she didn't do it with Mark because it preserved this like wholesome thing between them.
Yeah. I think that's a real thing. I mean, Julie Andrews says the same thing about Christopher Plummer. Because when they were in The Sound of Music, they were both very attracted to each other. But she was married with a baby and he was going through a divorce. So they never hooked up. But they stayed friends till they were like 100 years old. Like literally. Yes. And she even said she thinks they were good friends because they never had a relationship. And it preserved their friendship. Like you said, they could stay friends forever that way.
Yes. Yes. Totally. Totally.
So yeah, I think you're totally right with that. It actually gave us more by giving us less. Yes.
More is less, and less is more. Is that a gray? Is that an area of gray that we hearkening back to?
Yeah. I liked our last episode. That was fun.
So I want to talk about Billie Lourd at the Hall of Fame speech that she gave for Carrie, because I want to read a part of it, because when I listened to her talk, I thought it was Billie is lovely. I want nothing but the best for her forever. I love that she portrayed Leia like in form when it was, in The Rise of Skywalker, in that duel where they both have their masks on and they're training her and Leia and Luke. And
that was Billie Lourd?
It was actually Billie Lourd's body. Oh, and then they superimposed. Yeah, it was very nice. I loved all of that.
Who did Luke? Was it his son?
I actually can't remember. I don't know who said, but I was more interested in the fact that it was Billie. But here's what she said during the ceremony, and I will quote her. Quote, "I realize that Leia is more than just a character. She's a feeling. She is strength. She is wit. She is femininity at its finest. She knows what she wants and she gets it. She doesn't need anyone to rescue her because she rescues herself and even rescues the rescuers. And no one could have played her like my mother." And she actually goes on to say that she is more than Princess Leia. She is Carrie Fisher. Like, and those two things together, I just loved every second of that, because that is why I love Princess Leia. She's wit, she's femininity, she's strength. She's a rescuer and a rescuee of herself. And I just love her. She changed how I looked at sci-fi characters forever, and like female leads.
Yeah, for sure. And the fact that she rescues the rescuers. I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's what a whole generation of women needed, honestly.
Oh, truly.
And I'm sure it was an insane burden for Carrie to carry. It was a lot.
Yes.
You know, people have strong feelings about their heroes, and then they maybe meet them and put all their feelings on that person. And it's, you know, it means a lot to you to say that to your hero, but also Carrie probably heard this stuff all the time for decades. It's a lot. That's a lot.
It is.
It's a lot emotionally to carry other people's stories, you know? And so that's why she eventually had to accept that Princess Leia was her and she was Princess Leia. Like, you couldn't divide the two anymore.
Maybe she didn't want to. And now, my God, we have the Kenobi show, who added yet another layer to the love of Princess Leia, because we got to meet her through Vivian. We got to see her speak so fluently and eloquently at Celebration. And isn't she just, Carrie would love her. Carrie would have loved her.
And she has that look too. She definitely looks like Carrie. You can see, young Leia in that face. So to have the full package, it was like she looks like her, but she also has the spirit of her as well. That I think she did a beautiful job. I love her performance.
And didn't they say it took her like audition like 8 weeks or something? 6 to 8 weeks or something?
Yeah.
Before.
There's a lot of auditioning.
That's a lot for a child, but that tells you how important they knew that it would be to get it right.
Yes.
So,
I think it was that is a job that would be very intimidating.
Oh God.
Not only is this one of the most iconic characters in all of cinema, but it's also one of the most iconic actresses in all of cinema. And so to cast her as a child, that is a lot. And you don't want to f it up because this is also one of the most brutal fan bases.
True.
They will not just attack the character, they'll attack the actor. So
well, I know, but we've got to do better. I hope we're doing better. I mean, please. Yeah. But I remember sitting at Celebration and watching the Look Back at Kenobi panel, and Vivian was talking, and she's hitting all the points, right? Why the character is like this, and why she understood the character from this point of view. And I'm like, she's too young to know. Like, how does she know this about Princess Leia? Like, she's either very, very, very self-aware and aware of the larger concept of Star Wars and Princess Leia as a whole, or she's just memorizing stuff. I don't want to discredit her. I think she gets it. But to be that young and to get it.
She does have a photographic memory, though, which is
that too
crazy. I can't even imagine what that must be like. They said they would give her a page of dialogue. She would look at it once and be able to do it. Whereas Ewan was like trying to read and keep up with her.
The seasoned veteran.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, wait a second, hold up, kid. I got to memorize this. I kind of love that. It's very Obi-Wan.
I do too.
Come now, let me read a few of these lines before we proceed.
I've been rewatching just parts of the Kenobi show, and he's so good. They're both so good. We should do a rewatch.
It's time. It's been a year.
Yeah, it's been a year. We should do a rewatch episode.
We should. Oh, why not cause more pain when we've already lived through it? Let's go for some more. Please.
Go for broke.
What would you say your favorite Princess Leia moment is?
That is a really good question because there's so many good ones.
I know it's really, that was an unfair question. I didn't prepare you for it. Well, I was sitting here thinking of it.
I love her I love her all the time, but I love her in Empire Strikes Back because at the beginning she's just like so mad. And then she's giving Han a hard time and just like not giving him a inch on how she's cranky about him. And then all the way up to then changing and like I also feel a little cringy about Empire Strikes Back when Han kisses her while she's telling him not to. Because yes
we've
means
this,
no in the George Lucas universe, but
to
have her then be so vulnerable to say I love you to him, that is one of my favorite moments because she does it so beautifully. This is why I love Carrie Fisher, right? Because she can be really tough, but then she's able to show that vulnerability in her vocal inflection, and that's why I love her in When Harry Met Sally because she delivers that line about the wagon wheel coffee table sincerely, and that's what makes it funny. I believe think she's gonna say something loving and affectionate, and then talks about the stupid coffee table.
Right.
Like, that's why she's such a good actress, and I love that scene. What about you?
That one's right up there. The I love you. I really love her opening moments in A New Hope. Just the smack talk. The sass, when you think of it.
Foul stench when I was brought on board.
Yeah, it's just.
It's so good.
It's just, if you just think about it from a Skywalker point of view, how on point that is with her father. And he's standing there, and he doesn't even know it's his kid. How the Anyway, I just love the sassiness and the fact that her world blew up and she carries on. And I love any moment. I really love, there isn't like a giant big moment. I guess the I love you moment is the big giant moment, but I love when she's handing out the medals because she looks so divine. And like true princess moment, you know?
Yeah.
Because up until that point, we've only heard about her status, and then we get to see her. But I love the tender moments in Empire Strikes Back with Luke. When she hears him and he calls to her through the Force.
Oh, yes.
And she's in the
ship. Oh, my God. How did I forget about that?
I love that part so much. I wish we had more of that. And then she takes care of him, and she's with him, and you start
the way
to
they hug
when
he first comes on ship.
Yes. There's a familial bond there that we're starting to get more of. Empire Strikes Back as a whole is fantastic.
And honestly, that moment where they just show her face and she's feeling Luke in the Force, like she is so gorgeous.
Oh God.
She's lit so beautifully, and like just everything about it is that movie has just everyone looks beautiful lighting in that movie. Yes.
Yeah. the part in the cryo chamber where she says that to Han, her face makes her eyes, the way it's lit, makes her eyes look even bigger and sadder.
Yeah.
I always give credit to actors and actresses who can act with their eyes and they don't have to say anything. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
I'm such a verbal emoter, I guess. Is that like I emote quite verbally? Shock everybody. But like but I just give so much credit to actors and actresses who can do it with their eyes. And even Vivian, as a child, had it. I mean, I hope she grows up and does fantastic things, and I hope we see her again in things. And we'd be like, oh, that's little Leia. That's her.
I know. I wonder if she'll ever do any more Star Wars. As she gets older, she could.
Only if they do it right.
Yeah.
But, you know, the quote that kills me, and it kills you too, from the Kenobi series, when Obi-Wan gets down on her level in that last episode. Whose favorite scene was that? That was Ewan's favorite scene,
Ewan's
right?
favorite, yeah. That's when he said he was sobbing uncontrollably in the audio booth or whatever.
Well, I'm going to read it because we all know the quote by now, and we've read it before on this show. But think about these descriptors that Obi-Wan uses for Leia, and think of it with Carrie Fisher in mind. So let me read it. Princess Leia Organa, you are wise, discerning, kind-hearted. These are the qualities that came from your mother, but you are also passionate, fearless, and forthright, and these are gifts from your father. Those are exact descriptors for Carrie.
Yeah, that suits her perfectly.
And it's like chicken and egg. Carrie Fisher is Leia Organa, or is Leia Organa Carrie Fisher, or are they just one?
That's such a good point, because she would not have been the same if played by any other actress.
Yeah. There is no other person that could play Leia Organa Skywalker. Solo. So many names. And who the let's close with this. Who the gets buried with their ashes in a Prozac pill container? I love her. I love you, Carrie Fisher. From someone who also takes anti-anxiety and antidepressant medications, I love you. Our listener question this week is, outside of Star Wars, what is your favorite Carrie Fisher role? It can be movie, show, anything. Let us know, because we told you ours.
Yeah, I mean, she even did a lot of voiceover work, too.
Yeah.
So that could qualify.
Let us know your favorite non-Star Wars Carrie Fisher work. We'd love to read it next week on the show.
Speaking of next week, next week we are going to dive back into some Star Wars literature.
Yes.
We're going to discuss 2 more short stories from a certain point of view, the Empire Strikes Back edition. We haven't picked them yet, so we can't tell you which ones they're going to be, but it's going to be 2 that we haven't covered. If you want to listen to our previous episode about it, you can go back through our archives. We did 2 previously, and they were freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to dive back into this short story collection. So we'll talk about that next week.
Last week's episode, we talked about the controversial Grey Jedi. And what's funny is we got a comment from our friend and patron Kevin, who actually said he didn't know too much about the topic of a gray Jedi, only that it was controversial. And then he listened to the episode and said he really enjoyed the topic and learned a lot. So it's always nice to hear that we're bringing something new to the table, even if it's not new, to those people. And it doesn't have to be controversial. We're just out here. I think he compared it to pizza. He said that not everyone likes every topping, but it's still pizza and everyone loves pizza. So I was like, I can't argue with that at all.
That is a delicious analogy.
It is. So thank you, Kevin. We were glad to bring some gray to the light for you.
We also got an email from our patron, Michaela, and she brought up some really cool points about Ahsoka that she wanted to make. So she said that everything about Ahsoka's symbolism screams gray and balance to her. And some examples she gives are Ahsoka has 2 lightsabers. Her code name is Fulcrum, which is brilliant because a fulcrum is the point of balance.
Perfect.
In a scale or a mechanism that is the center point of balance. And her lightsabers are white. And she made the point that a lot of people think that white is a sign of purity, but also she's so right, because this is so true in graphic design. I talk about this all the time. White is not the absence of colors, it is the presence of all colors.
Right, yes. Oh,
so
it's so
the
good.
fact that she has white lightsabers means that she represents all things, like all possibilities. I think that's so freaking cool.
She gets those white lightsabers after everything that goes on with her leaving the Order and the whole Empire takes over and all this stuff. So like it's perfect. Michaela, perfect. Love it.
Thank you so much for joining us here on the Most Things Kenobi podcast. We appreciate every single one of our patrons and are grateful for your support. If you'd like to support the podcast and become a patron as well, head over to the Most Things Kenobi Patreon. As always, you can follow us on Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, and don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast player. If you enjoy the podcast, feel free to rate us on Spotify and Apple. And if you need just one place to find all of these, head over to mostthingskenobi.com.
So until next time, my space twin, may the Force be with you.
Always.